Hello, this is David Westigan, your plebeian philosopher. Today we're going to talk about reproductive rights, how the authoritarian right wing, how the authoritarian left wing, and how the center view reproductive rights. Okay, let's get started on the alt-right. Okay, so the alt-right pretty much, they have tyrannical gender norms. So men are granted tyranny over women, and women are completely oppressed. So that's the dynamic we're talking about. And of course, tyranny is the freedom to abuse people. So the alt-right, there's no choice. There's no choice. Women are coerced into giving birth. You know, whether it's rape or incest, it doesn't matter. They tend to try to increase the birth rate in the alt-right. Possibly due to like low population density, if that's still a thing where they're at. The upper classes, they'll demand a woman give birth for the sake of legacy, and the lower classes, they'll demand a woman to give birth for the sake of profit. It's the slave class, the worker class. They want a big a worker population. So women aren't granted any education, no sex ed, no education, no contraception, no access to abortion services. And in fact, in the alt-right, abortions are viewed as murder. Okay, well, a person can make that argument, but the problem is that more than 1 in 5 pregnancies end in miscarriage. So even if you're pro-life, there's a 1 in 5 chance you could miscarry. And if you miscarry, you could be accused of having an unauthorized abortion. So miscarriages can, even if you're pro-life, you can still end up at the wrong end of a murder trial. That's the problem with criminalizing abortion, is that miscarriages happen all the time. Not every fetus is viable. So like most abortions occur within the first few weeks of pregnancy. And a lot of, most abortions, women probably don't even know they're pregnant until they miscarry. But it's estimated at least 1 in 5 women will miscarry a pregnancy. Okay, so it gets even worse though, because we have IVF, that controversy with that medical procedure. But the problem is when abortion is criminalized and miscarriage can be mistaken for an abortion, and every miscarriage becomes a murder trial, women will have no liberty to, no drinking, no smoking, because that could harm the fetus. Okay, sure, that's reasonable. But no life-saving medications, because that could harm the fetus. So the problem is that a woman's right to do anything is diminished to nothing in service to protect the fetal development. So women will be, it won't just be IVF that'll be in jeopardy. It'll be literally life-saving medication that could harm the fetus. So a murder investigation, a murder trial against a woman who miscarries, they could just, oh, no, you took the wrong medication. This medication could have been what harmed your fetus. It could have been what caused you to miscarry. So you're a murderer. So that's the problem with criminalizing abortion. You're going to get a lot of even pro-life women who want to have the kid. It just increases all this legal jeopardy for the woman, and it basically criminalizes pregnancy. It's bad. It creates a world in which women don't even want to bring children into. So ultimately, the irony is that the alt-right is so against abortion, but they actually increase demand for abortion. Like, women do not want to have kids in an alt-right authoritarian regime. So let's say we get rid of the clinics. That's not going to get rid of the number of abortions. So the alt-right's really into getting rid of the clinics. They're really into getting rid of the abortion provider. But the problem is, it doesn't actually reduce the number of abortions. It pushes them into the shadows. It trades the clinic for the coat hanger. So it's bad. It doesn't actually fix any problem. And when women are having unsafe abortions, it turns what the alt-right would call a murder into a murder-suicide, and that isn't better. That's not better. I'm all for reducing abortion, but it has to be done ethically. And we're going to talk about that when we get into the centrist view on reproductive rights. But before that, we're going to talk about the alt-left. Alt-left isn't much better, okay? Alt-left is probably just as bad. Instead of a tyrannical masculine gender norm and an oppressed female gender norm, the alt-left is everyone's equally oppressed. Everyone's equally oppressed. And there's no choice in the alt-left. You're forced to have an abortion. There's a lot of family planning, and if you get pregnant, outside of the, if the state doesn't approve the pregnancy, then they will force you to have an abortion. And this has happened. This happens in these countries. So yeah, women will be persecuted for unsanctioned pregnancy and having too many kids in a leftist society. A lot of it is trying to reduce population density if the leftist society is considers itself overpopulated. Okay, and in both of these, in both the alt-left and the alt-right, women are going to try and hide their pregnancies. Because they don't want the interference. If you're in the alt-right and you happen to miscarry, well, it's better if nobody ever knew you were pregnant. So in these kinds of situations, they actually increase the infant mortality rate and the mortality rate of the pregnant women if they're not getting the treatment they need. So hiding the pregnancy reduces access to health care and access to life-saving medicine and procedures that could help reduce infant mortality. All right, let's talk about the center. So yeah, it's pro-choice. The center is pro-choice. But the reality is nobody wants to have an abortion. Abortion, it's the demand for abortion is due to other social ills. So when these women, they want to have they feel like they need to have an abortion. Nobody wants to have an abortion. They feel like they need to have an abortion because maybe they're isolated. Maybe they're poor, maybe they're in an abusive relationship. So there's social ills that create the demand for abortion. And the center, rather than take away the clinic, the center tries to address the social ills that generate the demand for abortion. Let's talk about a little bit about abortion. Fetal viability is around 24 weeks. Most states, they ban abortion well before fetal viability, just to have to make sure that, yeah, this fetus is not fully developed. It will not survive on its own. Because once the fetus is viable, then it's murder. Then it is murder. Once the fetus is born viable, then it is absolutely murder. According to the general consensus. There are some exceptions, like if the health of the woman is in jeopardy, or if the fetus is non-viable, past 24 weeks, but there's no heartbeat and the fetus is dead, then there's some procedures that can address that. But really, the way the center reduces abortion rates is by reducing the social ills that drive up the demand for abortion. So they'll try and reduce poverty, more maternity leave, improve the economy. These things would slash the number of women wanting to get an abortion by a significant amount. Increasing access to sex education, increasing access to effective contraception. This would also reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies and also reduce the number of abortions. Reduce the stigma for single mothers and have community outreach for pregnant women. This would, just reducing the sense of isolation would greatly reduce the number of abortions. So women risk their physical, social, financial, and mental well-being to have kids. So the choice to have a child is a heroic act. But the ultimate goal of centrism isn't to take away the clinic. It would be to reduce the demand for abortion to zero, where all the social ills are addressed and the clinics remain empty. That would be the ideal in centrism. Not take away the clinics, but address the social ills to actually reduce the number of abortions, rather than taking away the clinics and pushing these women into the shadows while they have unsafe abortions. Just treat the social ills, because nobody actually wants to have an abortion. They feel like they need it because of these social ills. All right, well, if you like what you hear, then like and subscribe, and thank you for your time.